Hello and welcome to the Hugh Hatrick Show on a very special and exclusive, you could say, for half an hour. We do have Josh Martin from SimStaff. Hello, Josh. It's good to see you. How are you doing?
Yes, not bad, Hugh. Good to see you. It's been a while since we caught up. I was trying to think of the last time we did this podcast or the show, but it's been a while, right?
Yeah, it's been a couple of years. We've had a few people. We've had Max Grime
Of course,
from yes, and I'm trying to think of the other chap who used to work. One of your friends who used to work for Renault.
Oh, Will Daniels as
Will
well.
Daniels, yes. We had him on the show a wee while ago as well. But it's great to see how things have moved on for you because at that time, the last time we were chatting, you had just really got SimStaff off the ground and you were doing lots of kind of early events, which were very successful. I even 3 years ago helped you at Goodwood. I remember when we did the Goodwood race and championship event, which was great fun. But since then, you are now international. And going from strength to strength. So I thought this would be a great chance for you to tell us the highlights as to what you've been doing and let our viewers know as to if they can even, because many of them are very, very keen sim racers and might even be able to get involved. So what have been some of the highlights of the last couple of years?
Yeah, there's been a lot on. We were just talking about it off air, weren't we? But I guess the BBC Children in Need. So the gaming charity initiative they did last year, Game On, that was probably one of our highlights there, taking simrigs up and down the countries. Goodwood Festival of Speed was obviously really busy for us this year. It was our busiest year to date, which was great. And then outside of that, continuing to serve our clients with Williams, with Alpine. We've got a relationship with Hilton now at the Silverstone circuit. Wow. So really a whole range of stuff. It's hard to keep up with sometimes.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. So have you found that it's been better to kind of take on your role in a kind of third party sense so that you basically supply for other companies and other kind of venues and events rather than kind of say do like a kind of SimStaff event as such? Is it better to do it that way?
Yeah, definitely. I think, the sim racing industry's obviously blown up massively. It's very, very popular and there's a lot of opportunities now for people to do all sorts. So, when it comes to the event side of stuff, that's also really, really busy. And unless you've got huge amounts of capital to kind of do stuff, it's very, very difficult. Whereas, you've got companies that are able to kind of do stuff like Children in Need, for example, who have a purpose. They kind of know what they want to do. You've got brands like Playseat, Base Performance, who have kit that wants to get it to events. And then we kind of just help achieve that, really. So it works much better that way. And it gives the brands doing stuff like BBC, really high quality, passionate sim racing to run events.
Yeah.
So.
I was so annoyed because I missed that when it was in Newcastle. I had to drive, and I did everything I could to get there. And I was trying. Unfortunately, I couldn't get there because I was driving a bus from literally to Ashington, 20 minutes away from the metro centre, and I couldn't come back in time to get my car and race down to Newcastle to try and qualify and have a go. Because that looked like a fantastic event, and it's just a great idea, isn't it, to go around the country, let people have a go, and then let them do a proper race in front of a huge live audience, which is amazing. That of course, and you've been abroad as well. You've set up many events abroad. How has that been? What's it been like when you were doing as you did your first kind of major event internationally?
Yeah, definitely. We do a lot of stuff now in the US. So working with a lot of our clients out there, which is great. Obviously, it brings its own challenges geographically. It's much, much bigger, right, than the UK.
Yeah.
And then also in Japan, Australia, we're doing a lot of events out there as well in Europe. And it's great because we've got this network now of contractors who are passionate sim racers, and they're able to speak the local language, deal with kind of engage with local customers and really just make it a bit more special than just a generic events company, which is great. So
yeah. I think that is what makes it special, isn't it? I think you probably have a lot more reliable staff because if people really like doing what they're doing, and sim racing is addictive, completely addictive, and then it's so much fun. So that's why people like doing it and they want to do a good job, especially leading a great event like that. And how have you found like sourcing, the right equipment and things like that? Has that been quite a difficult thing to do, or is it just come over time?
Yeah, I think like we were saying, because the sim racing's blown up massively, there's a lot of people who are either manufacturing rigs or run their own rig companies and this kind of stuff. So in some cases we can work with those third parties and kind of provide the kit for brands internationally as well. So it's not been as much of a challenge as I thought it was going to be. And you're right, because everyone's so passionate about the space, it just makes it that bit easier. They understand what we're trying to achieve, and we can make sure that the equipment is the right equipment for what we're doing. So
Yeah. And how have you found it when you go and examine an event? Do you think you're a good boss, or are you very picky and choosy and making sure there's no one's dropping anything, everything is the way it should be? How do you go about checking your own events?
It's It's a good question. I think out of everybody at the company, I obviously set the bar the highest because it's my passion project, my baby at the end of the day. As much as people will love to work for us, they'll never hold it to that same level because it's not their own business. But I mean, like I say, because we've got people who are passionate sim racers from the outset, they take the same level of care and detail in the rigs as they would if it was their own. So I rarely have any issues. Max might disagree, but from what I can see, the events go well, the staff do well, and our clients are really happy as well. So
yeah, that's a great thing. And what's been the kind of challenging thing you've had to face by putting these events together?
Time zones are quite a big challenge. We've sometimes had issues with events in the US, which mean it's kind of a 2-3 a.m. staying up to kind of get stuff sorted. Logistics aren't too much of a problem. Thankfully, we've not had any issues yet with stuff going missing or getting damaged, which is great.
Yeah,
time zones is probably the real challenge for sure.
Yeah. Oh, it's quite a thing. And is there a particular thing? Is there an event that stands out that you've done that you've really had a huge amount of enjoyment from that has just seemed to top the lot? What's your kind of most enjoyable experience?
The Goodwood Festival of Speed this year was probably one of my favorite events that we've done. We had 15 staff that were working that show, which was great across the different stands. So it was not only like during the day that everyone was really passionate about what they were doing and achieving, but then obviously in the evening you get a chance to kind of catch up with people on a more informal basis. We had people coming over from Canada to work and that kind of stuff. So it really just let me get a chance of kind of meeting everybody and getting to know them a bit better. And it was just, Goodwood's a really cool show to go to, right? So.
Oh, it's brilliant. I've not been for 6 years. Definitely next year we're going to get our tickets booked, so we can definitely go because it's such a good event. That is the thing. And what do you find is your favorite type of sim rig? If you're going to put something together, let's say someone wants a kind of GT style racing rig, what would you recommend?
It all comes down to kind of the budget, really, which is a bit of a cop-out answer, I know. But, obviously at the top end, you've got people like Base Performance who do some really, really incredible, custom-made rigs with carbon fiber seats and this kind of stuff. At the more accessible end, you've got people like SimHound who do 80-20 frames. And then Playseat kind of sit in that happy middle ground as well. And we work with all of them and they all have their own perks and benefits, really. So I guess it just depends on the kind of budget that's available.
Yeah. Now we've got a question from one of our viewers, Chikorito. He says, "What is the function of SimStaff?" So he's not aware of what you do. So what do you do at SimStaff?
Yeah, it's a good. We probably should have started with that, right? SimStaff was set up 3 years ago now. Set up by myself, and really the whole premise is that sim racers can do events better than events companies doing sim racing. So what we do is we bring passionate people who are sim racers, who are technically knowledgeable of sim rigs, and they support brands, whether that's at trade shows, private events, corporate events, private installs, all this kind of stuff, and really put people in place to run these sims, look after them, engage with the public, and give those brands, like I said, the confidence that the rigs are running really well. So really the kind of people we're looking for are people who will go to work, they'll work on a sim rig for a day, a show, and then probably go home and jump in the rig to do some laps. So that's really what we do and what we serve. And like I say, we've got about 100 plus contractors now in 17 countries. So really building up that network of sim racers to get paid to do sim racing.
Yeah, which is fantastic. No, that is a thing. And I was going to say, because you had lots of different events at Goodwood, like Sky and Hey Car, and it's amazing because I suppose they all wanted different types of rigs, didn't they? Some of them there was a rally one as well. So that's a big challenge trying to get all the different types of rigs set up. And there was a great video that you put on your channel that showed people lugging these play seats. Kind of like, and I thought out of a lorry and putting them in, and I thought, my goodness, you do need sim rigs can be quite heavy, isn't it? You need a couple of folk or more to be able to lift them and get them all into that kind of thing. But it must be good as well having these contacts with all these big firms, because as you say, it's such a growing business. It hasn't slowed down at all, isn't it? It's just continued to grow.
I think a lot of people have realized that it's a great marketing tool now, right? Gone are the days of just having like trade stands and hoping that people walk up to your stand and engage with you. So this is a really great way for companies to draw people in, kind of trigger that emotional reaction of someone winning a race or setting a good lap time, and then being able to talk to them about sales. So yeah, you're spot on. They're only continuing in popularity, and at Sky, for example, they're doing an initiative to get women into sim racing. So the winner of the tournament gets a pro contract. So really, they've got some really cool opportunities, and these brands are aware of sim racing and the value that it can bring.
Yeah, I visited that one, the one at Autosport, but because it was for women, I felt a bit embarrassed. I thought they're not going to let me on this, It was because it did look like a nice rig, but I kind of backed away because I thought I better not ask just in case they say it's only for women to go on this. But no, it was a good stand, and I no doubt you'll be there next year with even more equipment and things like that. Now we've got a question for Aces Boy. It says, I hope you're both well. Josh, I assume you provide the rigs for SRO.
We don't actually, so that's yeah. Thank you. That's a sore one, but no. So we work really closely with other companies in the space. Obviously, sim racing is a small industry, but the opportunity for rigs are bigger. So we work very closely with the guys at AK Esports that do provide the rigs to SRO, and there's projects we've worked on together for other things as well. So SRO probably isn't one where you've seen us, but like I say, if you're at Goodwood, you've seen us there. We work with Williams, Alpine, that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah, and of course, you're going to be at the big International Sim Racing Expo in a couple of months' time. But perhaps you could tell us a little bit about that, because I think quite a lot of people will want to visit that show.
Definitely, the Sim Racing Expo is it's like obviously the biggest show for sim racers kind of globally at the moment. So it's a kind of bringing together of all the big brands that people will recognize. There's some community events going on and that kind of thing. We've signed a monthly deal to be a partner with the Sim Racing Expo. So we're the staffing provider for the show, which basically means if you're a brand looking to go to the show and you need staff at the same time you're booking your stand in Power, you can book sim staff people to run your stand for you. Or if you're a sim racer and you're looking for work, then we've got opportunities to work at the show as well. So really excited about it. The Sim Racing Expo is really cool. Have you been before, Hugh? Is on the
I've not been. I'd love to go. Is it in October this year?
It is.
It?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I'm going to try and see what the dates are like for that. Because I know you can fly across quite easily. I think, isn't it? It's not. There's a few different ways of getting there. But no, I'd love to go. I think it's such a good event. I liked it when it was at the Nürburgring. I remember when it was there. That was a great one. That it just had quite a lot of kind of I think all the charisma of having the track right next door. It would be something. Do you think they'll ever do an expo in the UK? Do you think there might be any plans underfoot to try and do something like that?
I don't know how much I can and can't say. I think the prospects that a lot of people are asking for it, right? So I think it's an opportunity to see it happen. When that will happen, remains to be seen. But I think it's only a matter of time before there's one in America, one in the UK, one in parts of Asia. Well, I think it makes sense, doesn't it? So
because Britain has such a huge motorsport kind of following, isn't it? We all want to do more, and now this is really showing that if people who are very good on sim rigs, they can potentially have a chance to get into motorsport through it, which is great. That and of course you do stuff with Alpine and also with Williams. What are those kind of events like? Because are they like for special VIP guests of Williams and things like that your staff then deal with?
Yeah, they range really on the type of event they can be. So, for example, the fan shops that Williams put on, we help them with staffing those, for example. Other times it may be, partner and sponsor events there. And again, the fundamentals are still the same, right? It's rigs being provided for a reason to kind of provide engagement and drive engagement with the brand. But some really cool opportunities for people to kind of, I guess, meet some drivers or that kind of thing as well. So
that leads me on to my next question. Is to no doubt with your experience of visiting all these great Grand Prix and big events, you must have come across some rather famous drivers in your 3 years there. Who's been some of the most surprising guests, or the kind of one that kind of your favorite people that you've met?
Yeah. I've met I've met some, not a huge amount to be fair, but I'm a huge Sebastian Vettel fan, so I've met him, and he's just as nice in person as he kind of portrayed in the media. Mark Webber was a really funny individual. Pleasure to kind of meet him. Robert Kubica, George Russell, all those kind of people as well. So
I've met Robert Kubica. Nice. I went to the chat with him. Yeah, he's a lovely guy. That was when he drove for BMW many years ago. And they brought him to a driving event at Millbrook. And I happened to be there with a friend of mine. And they had this question and answer session. And there was about 10 of us in this room. And he talked about this new BMW that was out. And then he opened it up to the group. And nobody said anything. And we were kind of standing right next to him. I thought, well, we couldn't try to be polite. So I asked him a few questions. And in the end, it was basically me and him having a conversation because nobody said they kind of wanted to have a question. So it was quite, he's a lovely guy though, isn't it? You find these kind of F1 people are their mindset is something else. And when they drive, it's quite a thing. So where would you like to see the business grow? What would be your next kind of venture, or what would you like to try and achieve with it?
I think we're doing a lot of things right at the moment. Obviously, the growth for the business year to year is really, really great in terms of the people that we're getting the opportunity to work with. The reception from the industry has been really great. And the stuff like the Sim Racing Expo kind of evidences that. Obviously, SimStaff is intentionally not just restricted to sim racing. So it may be down the line that we look towards, flight sim, truck sim, farm sim, something like that. So certainly there's scope for other forms of simulator. It doesn't just have to be driving or racing ones.
Yeah, because they're all gaining in popularity. You can even get a bus driving simulator, which I haven't tried yet, but people say I must try it. But yeah, now we've got a question from Aces. It says, would you class yourself as a rival company against AK Esports, even though you're quite closely affiliated?
Are we a rival? I wouldn't say so. I think we do very different things. AK Esports obviously is an out-and-out events company for the sim racing industry, whereas we're very much a staffing provider. So the reason that relationship works really well is that if they've got activations where they need staffing support, we can provide that to them. And in turn, if we have activations where clients come to us and need more than just staffing, we can provide these clients with additional resources from AK. So definitely not competitors. Is there overlap? Sure, because we're both working in sim racing, but by no means a direct competitor, and it's quite a strong, healthy relationship for sure.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. And we've got Jeff from the Sim Cafe.
Jeff, I haven't heard from him in a while as well.
Yeah, Jeff's fantastic. Oh, you like Jeff. Now he's saying you're making Sims a lot more professional. And he's saying congratulations to Josh on his achievements. I mean, it is pretty spectacular how you've been able to build your business and reach out on these incredible events and make it happen so quickly, which a real credit to you. It's at such a young age as well to be able to do all of that. Which is fantastic. And Chigarito was saying, is SimStaff hiring?
Yes, we're always hiring. So the long-term goal, actually, I guess, which answers your question earlier, Hugh, is, the goal with SimStaff is to have someone in every city in every country. Now, there's a long way to go to get there, but the reason I say that is twofold. Firstly, because of that cultural and local element, because someone who's got local knowledge is going to run an event much better than someone who's on the opposite side of the world. But there's also an environmental impact. So that's something that's really important for us. And we got accreditation recently for the Good Business Charter. If you can provide local staff, you don't have to fly someone across the world. So from an environmental standpoint, you're doing so much more for the environment. And we all know that sim racing is a better alternative than real motorsport in terms of damage to the environment. So yes, we're always hiring. There's careers on the website you can apply through there, and we can get you onboarded if it's a good fit.
Fantastic. And it's simstaff.net.
That's it. Yeah, we're not on the .com yet, but hopefully one day.
Yes, because I tried that and it came up saying it's not there. So, but no, I've got it I've put it in the comments or in the description, so people can hit that link and they can get details from there. But no, it's brilliant. Now, of course, I remember when you were a sim racer too. I used to watch your stuff on Twitch. I think I'm still signed up to Twitch. So, what was the decision that because you were in some very big events as well, racing for some stuff that was broadcast out to many people. What was the thing that made you decide, right, I'll put that aside and then go into the company like SimStaff?
I think the reality is, as much as I had the opportunity to compete at a high level and represent people like Team Parker and stuff in SRO Esports, carry the Frostmaster brand, the level of competition now is very, very high. And if you look at what people like Williams Esports, their drivers are training all day, every day. It's like a full-time job for them. And, you can't build a business and race at the same time. And I kind of viewed it as, if I wasn't quick enough to win everything, I can at least put on the show to help people win stuff. So that's kind of the reason with SimStaff that we look to achieve that.
Yeah. Now, Aces has asked, is it 18 plus for every position?
It is indeed. Just because of, what's it called?
The safeguarding and all the kind of things like that. Yeah. I know that for all the school runs I do a safeguarding training on Monday there. So, but yeah, no, that's the kind of thing. And how do you find the camaraderie with your staff? Because when we did the Goodwood session a few years ago, it was great fun, just being all online and sorting it all out, dealing with all the drivers as they came into the lobbies and sorting out. Do you find that it seems to be a very good level of staff enjoyment who are involved?
I think because everyone is, as much as they're working with SimStaff, they're doing a lot of stuff on the side. So we have some people who are, pro esports drivers, some who are very, very good content creators. And you learn to kind of just appreciate what everybody does. So the camaraderie is great. And, I did some events out in the US last year, met most of our US contractors out there, which is great. We had a really good time. And because everyone shares that passion for sim racing, you can start by bonding over a sim or the event and then get to know people outside of that. So it's been really surprising and really nice to meet just how amazing, diverse, and incredible our team are, really.
Yeah, I know there's some very big American GT7 racers.
Yes.
I was over in Florida earlier this year. And I was trying to meet up with Z28 or Z28 he's on because he's down in St. Petersburg, and we unfortunately couldn't quite manage it in the end. I actually got very near where he lived. I was on the beach a few miles from his house, but he wasn't able to come and meet us all. But no, it's amazing in America just how much sim racing is taking off. And there's some real strong competition there, which is really good. Now, Jeff has asked us here, what is your personal favourite sim?
As in sim racing game, do you mean?
Or... Yes, I would say so. Yeah, I think your favorite sim racing game.
I'm a huge. Anyone who knows me knows I'm a huge Assetto Corsa fanboy. So probably that or Dirt Rally 2. And then in terms of physical cockpit, it's I really like the base performance products as well as to be fair, they all do great stuff. Next Level Racing, Placey, all the cool stuff. But Assetto Corsa is a favorite sim.
And do you have your own rig now as well? Have you improved it over the years?
Not long moved house, so I've got empty space where it should be. But I will get it built at some point for sure.
You have moved so many times. I think every time I've had you on the show, you're about to move or have just moved.
Unfortunately, so paying monopoly, I think just moving house constantly. So
you'll have to buy a house somewhere.
This is it, right? This is it. So.
It's something that and who, of course, you've had you've worked with people like David Perel as well, isn't it, for the SimGrid? And do you find that do you still ever kind of talk to David and have do things together, or just or have a good catch up?
Catch up with David is something that I still do relatively often. Obviously, not as much as I did when I was working there, but we still catch up from time to time. And obviously now it's a slightly different dynamic, right? Because there's opportunities that he's working on where he brings us in, and then vice versa. So very much following what they're doing, seeing the developments of Delta look really amazing. And you were saying even just off air, the stuff they developed for console this season seems like it's been really popular as well.
Yeah, that's been really good. Now, Jeff has got a question for us. Do you think AC Evo has the potential to bring sim racing to the masses? Real life driving on roads in rain with the latest visuals.
It's a good question. I think it will. Even with mods for Assetto Corsa, you can get it looking pretty realistic. And on TikTok and stuff, there's people who are just streaming like driving free roam stuff on Assetto Corsa, and it goes down really, really well. Obviously, AC Evo looks really, really visually impressive. So I think it's got to, right? I'm sure Jeff can get farming that content. He's big on his content game. So
he's very good. Yeah, he's very good indeed.
Definitely.
And Chikorito has said, which country are you hiring from?
So we hire globally, like I say, a person in every city in every country is the goal. So my vexillology is not great. Is that an Italian flag or a Mexican flag, or it's an Italian flag, right? Is it?
I think it's Italian. No doubt Chikorito will come back and confirm.
Yes, but conceptually, we're always going to need someone, because, like I say, if we've got an event on in the center of Paris or an event in Sydney, we need people who are local as well. So.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. And Jeff goes on to say, it's actually from Thailand. That
wow.
that could be a whole new sector for you in Thailand, isn't it? That it's a huge place, very popular tourist destination. That that would be a thing. That and how you find, because I remember them saying even just a couple of years ago that what they were going to try and do at the Grand Prix is actually have simulators alongside it, so the top sim drivers could be racing alongside as the GP is on live, and they could have a kind of race that's almost simultaneous. But this time, obviously, with the top sim drivers. Do you think something like that is in play or is already kind of happening?
So with F1 Esports, I would say that, or F1 Sim Racing as it's now called, they have the studio in Sweden where they do all the broadcasting and production. They do have sims, obviously, in the fan zone that people can drive. I don't know if they'd ever do one at the same time, because people either want to watch the race or want to watch sim racing, right? But conceptually, I think it's a really, really cool idea to be able to kind of draw a comparison of literally who can finish first, a sim race or a real driver, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing. I know that you've been at quite a few Grand Prix as well over the last wee while. What's been your favourite?
I think Silverstone always holds a special place. We did have a lot of staff at Las Vegas, which was really cool. I didn't get a chance to go out, but if the opportunity comes up, I'll go out this year. And outside of that, we've got staff obviously supporting a lot of the fan zones around the various circuits as well. But Silverstone's definitely, although Hungary put on quite a good race, didn't it?
Yeah, Hungary was very good. I did enjoy that. And that was the thing as well with Las Vegas, because people were kind of saying, the track maybe wasn't as good. But I thought when the race was done, the track was great. And I actually played it on F1 23 a few months ago, or at the end of last year, as they did the race. And I thought it was just quite a good track. I thought it was better than Miami. I thought it was a bit more. It was a bit more fun. Some good long straights, and it seemed to be quite a decent race. And I think this year it could be even better because it's a lot. But the championship is a lot closer, and things seem are really happening. But yeah, now Jeff has a great question. I'll quickly go over that one. It is, what does Josh think sim racing will look like in 20 years' time? What do you think the biggest innovations will be?
Getting asked all the philosophical questions at the moment. I honestly couldn't tell you in 20 years where it'll be. I'm curious to know what Jeff and Chiquito and the people in chat are thinking. But obviously, the equipment's getting better and better every time. I think virtual reality will continue to get cheaper, as will motion. So I think the natural path would have to be towards like VR and that kind of path being very, very accessible. I mean, I guess there's only a limit, right, to how realistic a pedal can get or a steering wheel can get before. Yeah, there must be a limit, surely. Yeah,
I mean, it has changed quite a bit in the last few years, but VR hasn't been the kind of hit that maybe a lot of people thought it might be. I think because it's making people feel a bit off, and they can sometimes feel a bit sick after they've played it. But I've done a little bit of VR. I don't have it for my own. I've only done it at shows and things. But I was fine when I used it. And I was actually I played on because my sim rig is actually from a company called Race Sim, which is based in London, and it's decent because I needed something that was a bit sturdier than what I had before, but they also do motion sims, and but they're kind of small motion sims. They do a full one as well, but they do a kind of small motion sim, so it's not as much movement as you would get on some of them. And it was actually really good. They had it at the Autosport show, and it was actually really, because you really got into it, and it just seemed to have a nice balance of the movement and giving you a feel, because some of these motion sims, I remember doing one from Renault, and it was moving so much, and I was in a Renault Megane, and I was trying to race around this circuit, and it was moving to a ridiculous level, because you thought in a racing car it's not going to have anywhere near as much body roll, but you were almost being pushed as if you're in a plane, from one side to the other, almost as if it was going to tip over. So it was quite a nice balance, I think, of what they would do. Have you done motion simulator events?
Yeah, so Base Performance that we support, they have their Phoenix simulator, which has motion on it, and it goes down really, really well. It's set up, it's 1.5-inch actuator, so it's not a huge amount of movement, but it's enough to kind of get that sensation of movement. I think it's great, and obviously what D-Box are doing with their motion was really, really awesome. It's coming down in price slowly, but I love motion. I think it's a great concept to have.
You'll have to convince your other half. See, that's what will have to be put in your next house. And that when I need an office room, I need a room so I can work from home, as they say. That would be the thing. Now, here's a good question from Chikorito. What's your opinion on Verstappen practicing in the sim before late at night before the race at Hungary?
I think obviously. Was it Crofty that made the comments, was it? Or
yes, I remember seeing that. He was quite upset.
I felt like it was a bit of a cop-out answer. I mean, Max did, was it the Nürburgring 24-hour he did?
Yeah,
and then he went on to win the race anyway. So, I don't think it had that much of an impact. Obviously, Max had a pretty difficult race in Hungary that now McLaren's a lot closer. So I think we just saw him lose his cool a little bit. I don't think it had anything to do with staying up late to sim race. Talent is talent, and he's a very talented driver.
Yeah, he does seem a bit fed up, isn't he? I think that was it. I don't think his mind was 100% on the race, or as sharp as he has been. But I think probably it's more distractions because he's not in the lead, and then suddenly he's got to chase the race rather than kind of lead it the way. So there's a lot more pressure, I think, when you're doing that, and it seems to have happened so quickly. But no, it's been fantastic. Oh, we've got lots of people joining us. We've got SDS and DTR. It's good to see you all. And I'm looking at my time here. It's 5:30. I know I've got about 4 or 5 minutes left with you before you have to head away. So we're going to have all the best questions we can now in a kind of quick fire kind of thing. So what are the kind of qualities that you're looking for in a SimStaff member of staff?
Yeah, for sure. So for all our contractors, like I say, it comes back to, and I know I've said it a lot, but sim racers doing events better than events companies doing sim racing. So what we really need is someone who has their own sim at home, who is comfortable using, whether it's Fanatec equipment, Logitech, Thrustmaster, is comfortable with Assetto Corsa, iRacing, F1, whatever the case is, but has a really good ability to be able to diagnose problems and troubleshoot. So if you've helped a friend with trying to build their rig, if you've helped a friend trying to solve any problems, that's the kind of people we're looking for. We're not really looking for people who have a sim rig and don't use it, because then it just becomes generic event staff. We want really passionate sim racers. Like the more you can geek out on a sim, the more of a suitable candidate you are for us. Obviously, there's a social element as well, but what I mean.
You try and get OBS working. Oh goodness! And you try and stream it and try and get it to your PC. Try and get your camera to recognize it is one thing. But yes, we've all been there.
That's a really good example, because a lot of activations we do, the company will say, "Hey, can we capture a screen recording of the driver using the sim or whatever?" And if you now can say, "Yes, I know how to set up OBS, I know how to run it," then it's a win. So.
It's one little number can make all the difference. I found that when trying to get the frame rate right, and so it was that. But it's quite a thing. So because obviously you've been to so many different events, and outside of SimStaff, have you ever been to an event, like it could have been maybe an Autosport show or one at the Grand Prix or wherever, or Goodwood, and you've been shocked at how bad a simulator setup has been, or anything?
What's been a question here? I'm not sure I can answer that.
Don't worry, it doesn't need to be anyone you're associated with, I'm sure. But have you ever seen anything and thought, "Oh my goodness, and thank goodness that's not ours"?
How am I going to answer this? I think
you're a very good politician.
Obviously, the investment cost in these kind of businesses is quite high, right? So for some companies, they make a lot of investment initially, and then they've sold their sim out multiple times but don't reinvest in the hardware. So I've seen companies using like T300s or T500s from Thrustmaster on their sims and charging the same as if it was a Fanatec DD2, so no specific instance where I've gone, wow, that's bad, but obviously you want to be at the forefront of the equipment that you're using, and people are getting struck because it's their first time trying sim racing, right? And if they have a bad experience, that's them completely turned off the hobby, which nobody wants. So
because we had that. We went to Autosport and we did the F1 in schools, and they had two F1 rigs that were good rigs, but the people who were actually manning it didn't bother to try and help the younger ones get involved. And they did say it was from primary school upwards. And when we did it, they wouldn't move the seat. The seat was too short, but they didn't have any padding or anything else to try and overcome that. And they thought, well, the rigs were quite decent. And you thought they would have been able to have moved them about a bit, or at least had a bit more ability to change the length and so on of the pedals, or move the pedals forward or things. So because you really had to be quite tall to be able to drive them. And unfortunately, a lot of the youngsters that were waiting to have a go were quite small, or were 10 or 12, 10 or 11, so they weren't able to drive them properly. And they didn't seem to do anything to. They said, "Oh well, that's just that." And you're saying, well, you're providing it for like F1 in schools. People think, it should be decent, isn't they? But so there's always room for improvement when that was there. So it's but I did my kind of father taking off, waving my finger and saying, "Come on now, do a better job than that." So that's the thing. Oh, a very quick question just before you go. Segurito says, "How about people using controllers? Have you still got facilities where you would ever do? I mean, do you think the time is running out for controller use, or do you think it will still be there?"
I think there's still a huge value for controllers. There's a lot of people that still use them, and it's probably, I would assume there's more people using controller playing racing games than people using sim rigs playing racing games, particularly for like F1 and Gran Turismo. So for us, I think they're a great addition. I think there should be events where people are competing on controller. I don't see any reason why not to. And, the simulation, not every game's a simulator, but also if you're playing the F1 games, the competition can still be there, even if people are using controllers, right? So it's one of those. I really like controllers. I think it's a great concept, especially if you just want to pick up and play. So no, that's the thing. Well, on that note, I know you're very busy, so I will end the show there and then. But we've had a great half hour and more of excellent questions from our viewers, and some great answers as well, as from Josh, as you go over your company and all the kind of experiences that you've been doing. Is there a big kind of event coming up in the near future that perhaps you'd think would be our viewers will be interested in? Well, there's not a big event in particular, but I've got a couple more minutes so I can talk about. We've recently launched a new service called Simrig Support. So if you go to simrigsupport.com, you can see on there, and really what it is a troubleshooting platform. So obviously for a lot of people, they know that certain brands are having really slow response times for customer service issues. Some of the newer brands are coming into the market and have no customer service at all. Or maybe you're having issues with something as simple as like OBS or a force feedback driver not working. So with Simrig Support, you can either book an online remote support call with us, you can send us your hardware, or we can send someone to you. And really, it's just a nice, clean system to help people troubleshoot their SimRigs. Because I don't know about you, Hugh, but for me, a SimRig is probably the third or fourth most expensive purchase someone's going to make in their life. And unlike a car where you get a test drive, there's no support with a SimRig. You buy it, you're said, here's the instructions to build it, and that's it. There's no guidance. You know?
I had to get a friend to build it. He had an electric drill, and it took about 2.5 hours. And then my wife and I hugged the thing because, of course, we made the fundamental mistake of not making it in the room that you were going to play it in.
Yes.
And then this thing is so heavy. It took, I don't know how we managed to get it up the stairs and then round the corner into the room. It was something else without taking chunks out of the wall. That it was because it's quite big for the size of the room. But that is a fantastic service, I have to say. We'll look at that. So that is on the simstaff.net site. So they'll be able
so you go simrigsupport.com. You can see there.
Support. Right. I'll put that in when I put this through. But no, that's fantastic. Well, I'll certainly be booking you up because I've got so many issues with OBS. I know. You'll be cancelling that holiday and you'll be coming to see me. So it's the one. It's the one. But thank you so much for coming.
Sorry, I was going to say quickly, it's it's a really helpful service. We've had some people who are like experienced sim racers who just can't get their head around a problem and need someone to kind of help walk them through it. We've had some people who have literally bought their rig and it's their first issue that they've run into. So it's open to everybody. And again, it's more work for sim racers to help new people.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. As Jeff, if he's still watching, will know I got him to help me set up OBS, and I had wires here, plugs there, and all sorts of things happening, and an Elgato streamer somewhere in the middle. So it was quite a thing. But we did get there in the end. We did get there. But no, that's the thing. Well, look, thank you so much for joining with me today, Josh. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show. If you stay on the line for a few seconds, and I'll just quickly finish off the show. Thanks to everyone who's been watching. It's been a pleasure to have Josh. It's been a pleasure to have everyone in making comments and watching in the background. This will be coming on Podbean as well as a podcast version. So let us know your comments on Josh Martin, the founder of SimStaff. If you've been to a sim racing event, there's a very good chance it was SimStaff that ran it. So thanks very much for watching. Drive fast, but drive your bus even faster. Bye just now.